What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So there's something that I didn't catch a couple of days ago when it came to the debt ceiling, this negotiation. And I'm going to talk about that today because the wording means everything. And when we start talking about this, you'll understand what I'm saying when it comes to the debt ceiling. Did they raise the debt ceiling or did they suspend the debt ceiling? So we're going to talk about that. Also, I want to look at the 3 Social Security reform plans right now. So we know 2 plans already. The other plan is still kind of up in the air, but we do have some information. And I want to talk about the increases or the potential increases that each of these plans can offer. So that's what I want to talk about today. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification and click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here. So by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just as a reminder, if you are not getting notifications, let me know in the comments below. So far, not too many people are letting me know in the comments below that they're not getting notifications. So that's good. So at least it looks like YouTube is starting to send out the notifications the way they should be. As well as if you want to follow me on Twitter, follow me at the TEC Show Live. I also post videos over there. So I post a video on YouTube and then I post that video on Twitter as well. Okay, so let's talk about this debt ceiling. So we've heard all the negotiations going on. We don't want to default. Today is actually the day that they will vote in the House when it comes to the debt ceiling. And what they have done is they have suspended the debt ceiling. So they didn't raise the debt ceiling. Normally, if they raise the debt ceiling, they're going to say, okay, they're going to give you a new credit limit. So you'll get 1.5 trillion. That's what they were talking about before. So you can't go over that 1.5 trillion, because if you get to that point where you're going over that 1.5 trillion, that's when they're going to have to raise the debt ceiling again. And so that's not what they did. They actually agreed to suspend the debt ceiling, which means if you suspend the debt ceiling, then you can spend as much money as you want, theoretically. Now, they did say that you have a tight budget and there are going to be some cuts in basically the spending levels of they're pretty much saying the spending levels of 2022, but the reality is it's the spending levels of 2023 because they've taken out defense and they've taken out veterans. So that is something that's interesting, right? The fact that they said they're going to suspend the debt ceiling, and this suspension will last for 2 years. So in a case of an emergency or what politicians might see as an emergency, they can spend however much they want to spend because there's no ceiling. There's no credit limit. And so I just found that interesting. I would think that if you're really wanting to keep a tight budget, that you would raise the debt ceiling and allow them only to spend a certain amount of money, just like credit card companies do it all the time. And you heard Speaker McCarthy using this analogy of a credit card and giving a kid a credit card and all that. You don't just raise the limit. Well, he did even worse than raise the limit. He actually just suspended it and said it's like an American Express credit card where you can just spend and there's really no set limit. So I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that, but let me know in the comments below how you feel about that. I just think that's really interesting to find out. Now, when it comes to the debt ceiling, when it comes to the budget, when it comes to this whole bill, it has moved through the committee in the House and will now be voted on today. And we have to see if we have the numbers. Right now, I'm pretty sure that the numbers are there. Democrats are going to support this. You do have some Republicans that are not supporting this. So the Freedom Caucus is not supporting this. So we'll have to see what the final numbers are. But when it comes down to it, all they need is 218 votes in order to move to the Senate. So what they'll do is they'll vote on it today. They'll pass it in the House today and then send it over to the Senate. It's going to probably take at least a day to get there. And then the Senate will take it up. Now, the Senate can have some amendments if they want to do that, so they can slow the process down a little bit. Lindsey Graham has already indicated that he wants to slow the process up. And so it might not get done before June 5th. And this is kind of the fear here. But all that's going to do is they're going to have to work into the weekend. So if senators don't want to work on the weekend, you know how senators like to get home. They want to get home on Friday, do a half-day Friday, and then get home. So in this situation, that might motivate them to just go ahead and pass it because they know it's going to pass anyway. If they go ahead and try to do all these different amendments and try to slow the process down, then they might be working on Sunday just to try to get this passed before June 5th. So that's where we are right now. It'll pass the House today, and then it'll go to the Senate, and then we'll see what happens in the Senate. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the Social Security reform. Okay, this is something we're going to have to continue to talk about because this is something that will be the next thing, I think, in my opinion. I think when it comes to all the different things that we've heard about, when it comes to Social Security, we at least have I'll say two good plans right now. And the third plan, that is right here. This is the nonpartisan group of senators. They're putting a plan together. That plan we don't know enough about yet to say that it's a good plan for people on Social Security. But I will say that Senator Bernie Sanders' plan is a good plan for people on Social Security, as well as Mr. Larson's plan, Representative Larson. That's another good plan. And I want to talk specifically today about the increases, because this is something that people have been asking me about. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. So when it comes to Senator Bernie Sanders' plan, we all know this plan. This is the $2,400 raise for Social Security. Okay, that $2,400 would amount to $200 per month. This is what we're hearing a lot about. We've been hearing a lot about this for several years now. And Bernie Sanders, what he wants to do is he wants to raise the cap. So anyone making over $250,000 would have to pay into the payroll tax again. That's how he is going to fund this $2,400 increase. And there's some other benefits of this plan. I'm not going to go over everything. I just wanted to kind of focus on the increase. Now, I've done a full video on this, so I will post a link at the end of this video so you can check it out if you want to see more details. But I just want to talk about Senator Bernie Sanders' plan. Yes, that's the $2,400 raise for Social Security. Now, when it comes to Senator Cassidy's plan, Senator Cassidy, and I say Senator Cassidy's plan, but this is really a group of Democrats and Republicans that are trying to put this together. What they want to do is they want to borrow money and then invest that money. Okay, so they're going to borrow money, borrow taxpayer dollars, and they can't borrow it from Social Security, so they're just going to have to borrow this money. So I don't know exactly how they're planning on doing that, but with that borrowed money, they invest it. With the returns of that investment, they could, and I say could, have money to provide an increase for people on Social Security. Okay, so we don't know what that amount would be. We don't even know if it would be an increase or at all, because you could see a situation where the stock market crashes and now that money is gone, and now they're going to have to borrow more money to, I mean, I don't know what they would do. I mean, that we're talking about, that would be catastrophic. So we don't know exactly how they're going to move forward with that. But in this plan, what has been talked about in this plan is they want to raise the full retirement age to 70. Okay, so that turns a lot of people off. It should, because that would mean that you're not going to be able to retire at 67 like you could retire now. You're going to have to wait an additional 3 years. And that means that the early retirement age would probably move up as well. And so if they move the full retirement age up 3 years, they're probably going to move the early retirement age up 3 years. So it'll be 65 instead of 62. So that's Mr. Cassidy's plan, or at least the nonpartisan group of senators' plans. Now, Representative Larson. Now, he has a few different things here, and that's why I think this plan is really good, because he's addressing different issues. He's not just focusing on one thing, okay? So, across the board increase. This across the board increase, he's saying it's going to be about 2%, okay? Now, that's not a lot, but that will go with COLA. And so if you think about, let's say you get a COLA 3%, you add that 2% to that, so now you have 5% COLA. And that will help you get caught up over time. It's going to take some time in order for that to happen, but it'll help you get caught up. Now, also, when it comes to retirees, he doesn't want anyone to retire into poverty. Okay, so that's where, when I was talking about the $440, it's on or around $440. Okay, so it's most likely it's going to be more, because when he initially introduced this bill, he introduced it and the estimate was like $440. But now that was last year, okay? And like I said, he's been introducing this I won't say every year, but he's been introducing this in the past. This is not the first time that he introduced it, and it wasn't the first time back in 2021 that he introduced it. So the new numbers now, it's going to, I just put it this way, on or around 440, 450, 460, you can just look at it like that. Okay, now that will impact only the people who are below the poverty line. So if you are receiving Social Security and you're under the poverty line, below the poverty line, it will get you to 125%. That's what that's saying. So it's not across the board. It's not everyone gets a $440 or $450 increase. Okay, so I want to make that clear, because I don't think I made that clear in the last video, and some people were asking questions about that. It's not for everyone. It's just to get you to that poverty, get you over that poverty line. Okay. Now, there are more benefits increases in this plan. Okay. So like I said, the good thing about this is he's looking at, I mean, this plan addresses several different issues. When it comes to COLA, they want to take the CPIE and no longer use the CPIW. Okay, now the CPIE, that might get you better returns because it's focused on elderly. Okay, so remember the examples that I give whenever we talk about CPI. Basically, you're taking a shopping cart and you're going into a store and you're just throwing all those items into the store, and then they take the average, and then they that's how they figure out what CPI is. They're taking certain categories and they're saying, okay, this is the increase. When I say CPI, I'm talking about inflation. They're looking at the different increases in different items. Now, an elderly person, their shopping cart is going to look different than a person who is young and working. They're going to be different. An elderly person might have more health-related items in their cart, and so if those items go up, if those items are very expensive, and you start seeing inflation on those items, it's not going to reflect in your COLA because they're not currently using the COLA for the CPIE. They're using the COLA for the CPIW. So hopefully that makes sense. So they want to switch it over to the CPIE in the hopes that you'll be able to get a little bit more back as an increase, right? Because your COLA will look a little bit better, okay? Now, it might not be that much, okay? We're not talking about a drastic change, because if you look at the CPIE and compare it to the CPIW, they're generally about the same, maybe a little bit. CPIE might go up a little bit higher sometime, but that's the reason why they want to focus on the CPIE. The main reason is health issues, okay? So prescription medications and stuff like that. That's the main reason why they want to focus on the CPIE. Okay, so now this is another area where you can keep more money in your pockets. And that is they want to cut taxes for 23 million beneficiaries, okay? So right now you could be in a situation where you're making too much money and now you're paying tax. When I say making, I mean you're receiving your Social Security benefits. It puts you over into different tax brackets, and now you're paying more in taxes. And so what Representative Larson wants to do is he wants to address that by making some cuts to people who are paying taxes, that people who are receiving Social Security and having to pay taxes on those. So that's more money in your pocket. That means you can keep more money. So that is an increase as well. So looking here, we have an increase here. We'll probably see an increase here. Now, this is no guarantee because it's the CPIE versus the CPIW. And like I said, if there is an increase, it might be just a slight increase, or it could be, unfortunately, it could be a decrease too. That could be something that we see. But for the most part, I think the main reason why they want to focus on CPIE is because when they look over time, they see that the CPIE generally would mean a little bit more of an increase in your COLA. Okay, so, and then here, like we were talking about, the retirees, as far as people that are below the poverty level, it will get you to the poverty level. So we'll say $450 here for those people, not for everyone. Okay, I want to make that clear. And then we have the 2% increase. Okay, now this 2% will go with COLA, and that will help you. That will give you a little bit of a bump. So we're looking at COLA this year. They're talking about COLA is probably going to be, or actually COLA for next year, but they're going to calculate it this year. They're going to calculate July, August, and September. They're going to look at the CPI numbers for those months, and that's how they'll figure out what COLA will be for 2024. And they're saying it's probably going to be no more than 3.1% was the last calculation. And so that's not very much. But if you had this plan in place, then you get an additional 2%, and that would help. That would bump you up to 5%, 5.1%. And so that's where we are right now when it comes to Social Security. Now, the good news is that right now it looks like you have lawmakers that are eager to talk about Social Security reform. And that's good, because if they're eager to talk about Social Security reform, that means that you'll have these politicians really pushing for it. And so we need to find out who those politicians are, and I will help you guys with that, because I'm going to be doing a series of videos talking about the Social Security 2100 Act. I'll still be talking about Senator Bernie Sanders' plan, but that plan right now is, I mean, you don't have that much support for that plan. However, the Social Security 2100 Act, there's a lot of support for that plan. And we're talking both in the House and in the Senate. And so we're going to talk about some of those people who are important players, especially in the House. You have some important players that are in favor of Social Security 2100. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And I might do a video later on, especially if there's some hiccups when it comes to voting on this debt ceiling bill in the House. And that's all I have for you guys. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more. Talk to you in the next one. Bye.